Hi, this is Juliana, and welcome to my podcast. Today I will be discussing the portrayal of the American dream through The Great Gatsby in the Yellow Wallpaper, specifically focusing on Tom Buchanan and John. But this episode is special. I will be interviewing my dad, and we will get his opinion on societal expectations, success, and the historical context of this period. If you are interested, please continue listening. Okay, Dad, let's get started. First, I'm going to give you some context about The Great Gatsby. This book is set in the 1920s and explores themes of wealth, class, love, and the American dream. The story is narrated by Nick Carraway, who moves to Long Island and becomes acquainted with his mysterious and wealthy neighbor, Jay Gatsby. Gatsby is known for his extravagant parties and his obsessive desire to rekindle a romance with Daisy Buchanan, Nick's cousin, whom he loved in the past. Daisy, however, is married to Tom Buchanan, a wealthy but unfaithful man. Now, the Yellow Wallpaper is very different, but not too different when comparing the husbands. The Yellow Wallpaper is a short story about a woman suffering from postpartum depression. She is confined to her room in her home by her husband John, a physician, as part of the rescue to help her recover. The room is decorated with yellow wallpaper that she hates. Her mental state deteriorates as she believes that the woman in the wallpaper reflects her own confinement. This story represents a critique of the American dream, particularly in how it reflects the limited opportunities and oppressive rules available to women in the 19th century. So, Dad, there's a specific part in The Great Gatsby where Gatsby throws his infamous parties. These parties are full of wealth, excess, and illusion. This party shows that regardless of his origin, since he's not from the East End where wealth was inherited, that you can achieve success, wealth, and social status through hard work and determination, which embodies the ideals of the American dream. Dad, what do you think about that and what his party represents?
Agreed at the time that his party does represent what he would consider wealth along with opulence. At that point in time, too, I think in The Great Gatsby, it's about modernism, so bringing everything into the current time. So there was a lot of excess.
Okay, so in the Yellow Wallpaper, there is a part where the woman is confined in her room and she begins to see a woman in the wallpaper. In this specific part, the author is trying to convey the way women have been represented in the 19th century. They have been dismissed, especially in the relation to the American dream. There's only one role for them, and that is to stay inside and be a servant to their husband. What do you think about that?
In those times, yes, him being a doctor, he felt he knew best for his wife, and I'm sure many other women. So it made sense to him to keep her in control. After all, as a doctor and someone in that society, he didn't believe women knew how to control and be in their, control themselves anyway.
How do you think historical context influenced the portrayal of the American dream?
So I think in both portrayals, they definitely show that men in those times could be bullies, they could be forceful, they could basically do whatever they want as long as they were a man, and that the woman's place was basically underneath the man. So they had no problem for both controlling and being abusive, both mentally and physically.
So specifically in relation to Tom Buchanan, how do you think men have been portrayed based in books based on back then to now?
So I think the only difference between back then and now is that society has grown so that it has allowed women and people of the global majority to have a bigger voice, which doesn't allow the Tom Buchanans of the past to necessarily be the everyman. Yes, they're still out there, and a lot of them still come to power and prominence, but we have evolved on a level somewhat.
Do you think people and doctors like John are still prominent in our society?
I don't want to say prominent, but yes, there are definitely still people in our society who act much like the doctor. Being that he is a doctor, he does feel he has a level of intelligence over, of course, other people. So, yes.
And to wrap up this episode of my podcast, Dad, how do you think these different interpretations contribute to our understanding of early American values?
I think that what we can contribute is that a lot of the quote-unquote early American values were lies, a lot of them, and that what we've learned as time has gone on is that if people don't stand up and want to fight for their rights, the same people, the characters in these books still come to prominence and power, and then will seek control.
Okay. Thank you, Dad.